Hey guys, Joe here. So in this video, I'm going to talk about how a business, it feels like it's similar to a Rubik's Cube. So my son started doing Rubik's Cubes a few years ago, just started getting back into it. And, we started doing these competitions and I'm like, you know what, let me do this too. And the reason why I wanted to do it is, one, I'm going to be at these competitions anyway. Two, it's something to do with my son. And three, it's like, I got to put these glasses on. Three, it's like my brain doesn't work the way I want it to. There's a lot of times where I'm trying to, talk and like the words aren't coming out. There is like I'm trying to envision something and I just can't. I can't just picture it. And it's just like I figured with this, because of the Rubik's Cube, there's a lot of times where you're doing a lot of different, they call them algorithms and stuff like that, pattern recognition, things like that. I'm like, this should really help, right? And so anyway, what I'm realizing more and more, like I said, is the Rubik's Cube is like similar to a business, right? In a few ways. So number one is I got this, they make ones of Rubik's Cubes that are like Bluetooth enabled and it'll teach you how to solve it and all this other kind of stuff. And so I did that for the first, it wasn't even that long, to be honest with you, and, it's telling you, like, because it'll know where the pieces are. So it's like, okay, step one, we're going to do, first we're going to solve this. So then we're going to do, step A, B, C, D, one, two, three, till, whatever. But by the time I got to step like 3 and 4, I don't even remember what happened with step 1 and 2, right? So then if I end up turning the cube wrong or something like that, I don't even know where to go back, right? And so I stopped that pretty quickly. I had watched a YouTube video before, but instead I'm just had my son teach me instead. And the reason, if I would have just kept on doing the cube, now I've only been doing this for like a few days, but if I would have kept on with the cube or would have kept on with just YouTube videos or whatever, I would be so much further behind than what I am now. The reason for that is because with YouTube videos and these apps and stuff like that, similar to business, is like you're getting this generalized advice, like if you're having this problem, do this. The problem is that a lot of times, and going back to the Rubik's Cube, is like you're trying to solve this one problem, right? So then what has to happen is, normally if you don't know anything about it, like you're just trying to solve that. But as you solve that, like this other piece gets moved and like then you're like, oh shit, now I have to solve this. And you're kind of like chasing your tail. Whereas like when I have my son teaching me, it's like, okay, what are we doing next? And he's like, oh, based on this, you have to do this, right? And then, but because you're moving this piece, first you have to kind of get it out of the way, put your other pieces back, and then you can do the steps, right? But if I didn't do that, I would again solve that one piece, but then the other piece that I wanted to actually be there would leave, right? And like if you ever done a Rubik's Cube, I'm sure you understand, because you're like you're like, okay, I got most of the white solved or whatever color solved, and then it's like, oh, I just have to get this here. So then I start moving shit around, like, oh, I got this here, but then 3 pieces else move. So it's like I fixed one thing and broke 3 others, right? Whereas when you have a coach, it will help that, right? And so it's like every time I keep on looking at this stuff, it's very apparent that I keep on not following my own advice and just getting a coach, right? And not that we're doing bad, but we could be so much better, right? So one of the things that I did is I reached out to my former supervisor again. So I do have her coming in. It's only once a week, but the goal is to help her, or her to help us get our basically shit together, right? And again, we run pretty well, but it could be so much better, right? With the right people, right? So if you I guess 2 main takeaways from this. Number one is, if at all possible, find a coach so that way they can help you in your particular situation. Because like when you're watching YouTube videos and stuff like that, like you might be on the step where you're trying to solve this particular problem, but because your pieces aren't exactly the same as their pieces, They're solving it based on what their Rubik's Cube looks like, not for what yours looks like, right? Because there's plenty of times where it's like, oh, we have to do this, but first we have to move this piece out of the way, then go back to this. Whereas on theirs, it may not be like that, right? So with a coach, they're going to get very personalized information. The other thing is it's very much pattern recognition. You know, with the Rubik's Cube, it's like, oh, if you're trying to do this, a lot of it, it's just algorithms, right? So when this happens, you do this. When this happens, you do that, right? Well, if this happens, you're going to turn this first, then do this step, and then you're going to turn it back, then do this step, right? So I'm seeing that. But if you're just watching a YouTube video or like getting generalized advice from someone, it's just not like, is it going to help? Sure, in that particular situation, but like that particular situation and what that coach thinks or that video thinks versus what you have going on are two totally different things. Because you might be trying to solve this problem, but it's like, no, you need to solve this problem first, because this is a much bigger issue than what this is, right? So there's that. The other concept is buying back your time. So again, that is finding, instead of spending the time on YouTube videos and stupid shit like that, if you're finding a coach and finding the experts in what that area you're trying to solve, it's going to take so much less time to get to where you need to go, right? Because the amount of time you try to spend on figuring something out versus if you spent that same amount of time on trying to find the expert that can help you fix that problem, your time is just going to be better spent, because after you find that person, then it's like you just don't have to do it anymore, right? And that's in it's like the what the book is called, The One Thing or something like that, where it's like, what is the one thing I can do today that will either make everything easier or it'll make everything else irrelevant, right? So in my case, it's like how to be a better leader and a coach, and develop people and stuff like that. I can read a million books, I can do everything else, or I can talk to my former supervisor that has 20 plus years experience, that is already world class at what she does, and she just comes in and just fixes it. Right. So anyway, hopefully this video helped. If you haven't heard, we are doing that 7-figure or short track to 7 figures, and that's where some of this stuff is coming from as well, is because I'm working with this one individual, and he's been doing this for he's been doing fence for 20 years. He had his business for 10 years, and it's after literally the first 2 weeks when we really didn't get I haven't even we haven't even really dove in deep at this point. There's 3 things that he told me. Number 1 is his phone's been ringing more than ever. And he wanted to hire someone because his phone's just ringing too damn much. Number 2 is he feels guilty for not working so hard. Number 3 is that his bank account is wondering where all this extra money's coming from, right? And it's not because I'm smarter. It's because I'm looking from the outside. And it's oh, we need to fix this, and this, right? And same with my business. Problem is, a lot of times we know what needs to be done, we just don't do it. And a lot of times we don't do it because we don't either know how, or we don't want to because it's going to be difficult. It's if you go to the gym, it's why the guys, are freaking humongous on top and then they have no freaking calves. It's because they enjoy seeing how much they can lift. They don't feel like just doing the calf raises and stuff like that. So anyway, hope you guys have an awesome day. Talk to you soon. Bye.